Hello YouTubers, this is Johnny from 573 Outdoors, and this is my first attempt at a real world blue collar rifle review. A little bit about myself: I was a 13-year Army vet and avid outdoorsman. Basically, I just see myself as the epitome of a middle class American that likes to enjoy the outdoors and likes to have quality equipment that you can depend upon. So, as you can see in front of you here, I got the Bergara B14 HMR chambered at 6.5 Creedmoor. Now, this is not the first time, and this is not an unfired rifle. I've fired this thing several times and tested it in that realm with numerous amounts of ammunition from 140s to 143s to 147s. Pretty much the Bergara B14 HMR likes them all. Alright, so I'm going to start from the back, work my way forward, just like everybody else does. Kind of hit on some key points in regards to the rifle. Some things that I really like, and pretty much there's nothing that I dislike about the rifle. But I do have some plans to further this rifle and make it a little more appealing to myself and something that no one else has. So starting at the rear, I got all three spacers in this rifle. Brings the length of pull to right at 14.5 inches. I'm not a tall individual, right about 6 feet. But my arms are rather long, so it just feels more comfortable to have all the spacers in there to stretch myself out. Also, the comb adjustment, have it set at about 1 inch high. Basically, my train of thought on that is having the top of the comb adjustment at the top of the bolt to line my face and my cheek weld up with the center of the bolt. And there in tune, when I get the scope rings in the scope one, then it'll be true in line with the scope itself without any major adjustments. But as you can see, the rifle is clear, the bolt is back, the chamber's open. I still have the magazine in there just for aesthetics alone. I am running a Night Force 20 MOA steel scope mount in Picatinny style. As I said, it's a 6.5 Creedmoor. I have the factory trigger in it set at right around 3 pounds on my measurement tool. I have bedded the action at the recoil lug and a little bit ahead of that on the base of the barrel. I did not find any necessary accuracy improvements. The only reason I did it was because that's what I do on most rifles, and it cannot hurt, because with the disassembly and reassembly of all these items, it just gives you a more consistent connection whenever you put everything back together and torque it down to specs. Clearly, the Mindy chassis in this stock is amazing. It does make the stock a little heavier than what you would normally expect out of a composite stock, but the stock is very, very effective. On the front here, I have a Caldwell 6-9 pivoting bipod. Nothing expensive, but it gets the job done for myself. Going ahead forward, if you notice, I do have a muzzle brake on here. The muzzle brake is the Anarchy Outdoors TPI titanium muzzle brake in 7.62 caliber. I didn't go for the 6.5, one, because they didn't have it, and two, because it's an event that I want to move it over to a 30 caliber. This titanium brake is literally lighter than the thread protector that comes on the rifle, because it is steel and this is titanium. I do not think it affects any point of impact nor the harmonics of the barrel. Now, in regards to the rifle itself, accuracy is right there, is about as best as a shooter can apply. If I do my job, it hangs around about a 3/8 of an inch group with the 140s and somewhere right around the 1/2 inch group with the 147s. Now, I have tested in a varying temperature scales over the winter since I got it in January, so you could say that maybe the bit of inconsistency could be as a result of the varying temperatures, going from either 60 degrees on the good days over the winter or 35 degrees, which I fired in overcast conditions and it was miserable in the snow. So that's kind of that. Basically, HMRs are going to shoot. I do like the fact of this B14 action. It is super smooth. Lockup is tight. Mine has the newer bolt shroud, so there's no issues with that in regards to the bolt shroud cracking or breaking or detracting itself from the action. Also, I do not reload, so I don't shoot the small rifle primers that have been known to cause issues with other Bergara HMRs on the previous versions of the bolt shroud. So I don't see that as being an issue. To touch on reloading, best friend, he reloads for the 6.5 Creedmoor. I've shot his reloads. They shoot about the same as my factory ammunition, and for the amount that I shoot, which is quite a bit, the accuracy that I get out of factory over-the-counter Remington 140 grain bolt tail hollow points, or the Hornady Black, or as you see in front of you, the 147 ELDM match. The variants are rather equal to each other, and I don't necessarily support, in my opinion, reloading. Now I will shoot his reloads if I need to or if I want to, just for testing purposes, but I haven't gotten around to actually buying all the reloading stuff and getting into it completely myself, because I don't see that there's an added benefit of spending all that money on the reloading equipment just to try to save a few pennies on every round. So it would eventually, I would have to produce a whole lot of ammunition and shoot a whole lot to make any headway on that. Next, okay, so the way forward on this rifle, this is going to be a first video of probably about a 4 or 5 part series that I'm going to have with the updates that I'm going to be doing to this rifle. Okay, so next up on the rifle will be a set of 30 millimeter 1-inch high PMR Vortex PMR rings matched up to a Viper PST Gen 2 5-25 by 50 EBR2 Charlie reticle MRAD adjustment scope. It's pretty much a go-to. It's probably one of the most popular scopes out there right now. I have shot that scope in the past. I actually have an MOA version on this rifle at the very beginning when I bought the rifle. Had no issues with the scope itself. It just seemed a little long for this build. As the factory gun sits with that 16-inch long PST Gen 2 5-25 sitting on top, it seems a bit outbalanced when it comes to the size of the scope in relation to the length of these rather short 22-inch Creedmoor barrels and the stock itself. So I got to thinking, after about my third scope through, I was like, hey, I'm going to go back to a PST because that's what I know and what I really like, and the glass quality is negligible when it comes to comparing it to the Razor Gen 2, which I had a Razor Gen 2 on this not even a week ago, but that scope definitely outweighed the rifle itself. It tallied this rifle in a loaded setup with the scope on it in around the 14.5 pound mark. That's just way too heavy for any kind of dual purpose rifle. My plan for this rifle, it always has been, as my primary rifle, whether it be hunting, local match, club match shooting, or PRS shooting. I would like to get into the realm of that and try to see if I can hold with the competition. Well, when it comes to a hunting rifle setup, 14 pounds is just too heavy. You can't, that's just not going to work unless you're walking 50 feet out onto a wood line. You're sitting there with a bipod trying to hunt. But let's be realistic when it comes to those of us that are blue collar hunters, where we have either public land that we hunt or we're hunting on private land and we got to get out there and go. We just got to do it, and we can't have a 15-pound rifle sitting on our back while we're walking a half to 3/4 of a mile. So that being said, I'm moving back to a PST Gen 2, and I'm going to be, as crazy as it may sound, replacing this stock. I have a new stock on the way for this rifle, and I'm sure everybody's thinking, well, what the heck's he going to do that for? The HMR has a mini chassis, it's rigid, it's got adjustable length of pull, height of comb, and free floated barrel. Pretty much good to go. But in my mind, I got a little different picture. Like I said, I want something that is special, something that no one else has or very few others have, or that you don't see that often. So what I have on the way is a MDT ESS full chassis. MDT, as you know, is modular driven technology. The ESS stands for Enhanced Sniper System. So by no means am I a sniper, but just the thought of it being a DMR, designated marksman rifle, set up with a full-length chassis, full-length handguard, enclosed barrel, long, powerful scope, all set up, length of comb, height of comb, length of pull adjustment, all in it. No need for bottom metal because it's all metal. That's kind of where I want to go with this. So, if you have any questions about what I have sitting right here, how it shoots, how it feels, please feel free to comment below. Like, share, subscribe to my page. I know I'm just starting off, but hey, everybody's got to start somewhere. I'm an avid shooter, and I'm going to be doing a lot, so just stay tuned. And the next episode will be mounting the rings and scope up, and then in the next day or so when my chassis gets here, I'll be mounting up the chassis and getting everything zeroed at the range, and then stepping this thing out further than I've ever done before, which as of right now, this rifle only I've had out to on 5-inch steel at 500 yards, just a standard check for accuracy MOA test, and it passed with flying colors. Alright, you guys have a great one. Get out there and shoot.